Well, welcome to the 700 Club. People have been watching the trial in Boston. This guy blew up a little kid, blew him up, destroyed him, and then maimed or killed many others. The question is it merciful that he get the death penalty? Well, that's the question facing that Boston bomber after he was convicted of terrorism. But the thing we want to show you today is he's only one of many around the world, lone wolf fanatics spreading their version of Islam.
That's right. Authorities in countries from Britain to Spain to Malaysia, as well as right here in America, have been rounding up suspects who reportedly wanted to get involved in terrorism. Caitlin Burke has the story.
One guilty verdict after another, 30 times the word echoing in the courtroom. A jury of 7 women and 5 men holding 21-year-old Johar Tsarnaev accountable for the worst terrorist attack on American soil since September 11th.
I'm amazed and grateful. I'm glad that they took time to go through everything.
That same jury now decides whether he lives or dies. The defense team's strategy to keep Tsarnaev off of death row is to argue that he fell under the evil influence of his older brother Tamerlan, an unconvincing claim for many.
For myself, I want to see the death penalty.
The sentencing phase could start as early as Monday and is expected to last a few weeks. But even as the victims of the Boston bombings begin to receive justice, Islamic terrorist ideology continues to be a growing threat, gaining converts around the world. In Spain, police have arrested 10 people for suspected links to the Islamic State. The arrest came after more than 300 officers conducted raids in the region of Catalonia in northeast Spain. Spanish authorities have arrested dozens of suspected jihadi militants and recruiters in recent years. Just last week, Catalonia police arrested 16-year-old twin boys who they believed were about to travel to Syria to become jihadi fighters. In Britain, 6 people arrested on suspicion of Syria-related terrorism offenses, all 6 only in their 20s. And here in the U.S., 4 men accused of plotting to recruit U.S. residents to fight for the Islamic State appeared in court for the first time Wednesday to face federal terrorism charges. Groups like ISIS continue to use Facebook and other social media to gain recruits, their methods already attracting thousands of radicals willing to fight or launch their own attacks. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
I was in a hotel in Israel that had been the scene of a suicide bomber, and it was just terrible what had happened. And people were, you know, they're dead, they're lying maimed around the floor. The place is shot up, a beautiful hotel torn to pieces. This is somebody's idea of what? Of war? What kind of war is it against little children and women and non-combatants? What kind of war is it? Who are these monsters that do this? Well, they claim that if you see you die in jihad, according to the Quran, you will go to paradise, and you will get 72 virgins and then more virgins and more virgins, and you'll have never-ending sexual prowess. So that's the kind of stuff they're being taught. And so they blow themselves up. Young people are being recruited for this kind of nonsense, and unfortunately it's taking hold in America and England and other Western countries. That's what we said. But it's a terrible thing. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand the roots of it. I know we had Hershan Ali here the other day talking about her view of a reform of Islam. They don't need to reform it. They need to leave it. They need to get back to what actually is said. What did Muhammad actually say, and what did he practice, and what do his disciples think that they need to do in order to be good Muslims? This is a book called Islam, a Religion of Peace or War. But these people are maiming, killing, destroying, and blowing themselves up. What kind of religion is that? Well, in other news, we told you it was going to happen, and lo and behold, it is happening. There's no deal on nuclear stuff. The Iranians are saying, oh, by the way, by the way, we want a complete cessation of sanctions. We want this, we want that. And they're talking about an R8 centrifuge, which would be maybe 20 times more effective than the ones they've got. And they'll be processing nuclear materials so much faster. And they're going to have a bomb before we know it's even there. And they have said once they get one, they will destroy Israel. That is what they have said. But our president looks blissfully along and says, look what I have done. I have brought a deal home to our country. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau. John.
Pat, as you just said, Iran's president now says he wants economic sanctions lifted immediately following a nuclear deal, or he won't sign it. President Hassan Rouhani made that announcement today during a ceremony marking Iran's National Nuclear Technology Day. Iran and 6 world powers reached a framework agreement last week aimed at keeping Tehran from developing a nuclear weapon. The deal still needs to be finalized by the end of June. Some Republican lawmakers, along with Israeli leaders, warn a nuclear deal with Iran could pose serious threats to Israel, the Middle East, and beyond. Well, 1 year after the revelations that America's sick veterans were getting sicker while they were kept on waiting lists by the Department of Veterans Affairs, a new report says that nothing at the VA has changed. That's the finding from a study by the Associated Press. The report shows some people are still waiting 1 to 3 months for an appointment, and the number of appointments that take longer than 3 months to complete has nearly doubled. VA hospitals in some parts of the country, including areas where there's a strong military presence, tend to have more problems. One VA official acknowledges that the department is taking too long to plan and build clinics. Pat, change isn't happening fast enough here.
Well, that is a sample of what Obamacare would do if he was taking over the health care of America. And of course, the liberals, as was pointed out to me earlier by one of our producers, said, well, they said this is an example of what Obamacare is going to be like. We will show you the shining example of the Veterans Administration, filled with cronyism, filled with confusion, filled with ineptitude. And this is Obamacare writ large. John?
The white police officer in South Carolina charged with murder for shooting an unarmed black man in the back has been fired, but the city of North Charleston will still cover the health insurance of his pregnant wife. Meanwhile, the mother of the victim, Walter Scott, says the video of her son being shot was a terrible thing to see.
When I looked at that tape, that was the most horrible thing I've ever seen. To see my son running defenselessly, being shot, it just tore my heart to pieces. I want them to know from a child, he has been raised in the church. From day one, he sang on the choir, he played the drums, he would call his mom every single day.
The video has proven to be pivotal evidence in the charge against the officer, and it has reignited debate over whether police officers should wear body cameras. The city of North Charleston already ordered 100 such cameras, and Pat, now they're ordering 150 more.
Well, the cops can always turn those cameras off, so I'm not sure that that's going to make that much difference. But, you know, this man's lawyer has resigned once he saw the video. I mean, it's so shocking. It's, you know, both of these guys served in the Coast Guard. You know, the one who was shot and the man who did the shooting. This wasn't some vagrant someplace. This was a former serviceman. Yeah, he had a few problems, but good grief, the cop couldn't get the taser working properly. So when the man runs, he takes his gun, the man is running away from him, and he shoots him in the back, and you hear the numbers. I mean, about 8 shots being fired. What kind of policing is this? Well, apparently the policeman was from, New Jersey or something, who wanted to be a policeman, so he went down to Charleston and got a job. And I tell you, it's shocking, but the idea that he gets any kind of health insurance, that he gets anything, I mean, this was nothing but an out-and-out assassination. And then he goes back, interestingly enough, while the man is lying on the ground bleeding to death, he goes back and picks up the taser or whatever he has and drops it to say, well, look, he had a weapon. I mean, this man, he ought to be put under the jail. And, of course, the death penalty is too good for him, as far as I'm concerned. We can't have that kind of treatment of African Americans or white people or anybody in our society. We cannot allow But the police normally are good people. They're trying to do a good job, and a few like this, the few bad apples, give a bad name to all of them. John?
Pat, while the Federal Reserve is considering raising the super low interest rates here in the United States, rates are going in the opposite direction in some places in Europe, below zero. On Wednesday, Switzerland sold 10-year bonds with a yield below zero. It is the latest sign that many countries in Europe are worried about the risk of deflation, where prices fall and can drag the economy down with them. One investment expert tells the Wall Street Journal that the sub-zero rates are a sign that investors don't have any confidence that the economy will be growing anytime soon. Pat, back to you.
Well, you know, this whole thing is a little bit aberrational. The Swiss currency is so strong that if you hold Swiss francs, you'll be making money whether or not you get interest or not against other currencies, because the other currencies are going down. The Swiss franc is stronger. The Swiss shocked everybody when they did a little decoupling a few months ago, and the value of their currency shot up dramatically. But zero interest rates, according to my friend Gary Schilling a few years ago, he wrote a book on deflation, and he said that's what's coming, is deflation. And that means really negative interest rates, and the amount of money now sloshing around is so huge. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal today, $100 billion worth of deals just settled, including that $70 billion deal about British gas. It's unbelievable because the money is so cheap. Firms can borrow at a negative interest rate, or 1% or something, 1.5%. And if they can make any kind of money at all, I mean, it's like free cash being offered to them. So it's a crazy situation we've got, and the Fed doesn't know what to do. But deflation, they talk about pushing on a string. Well, it's going to be very hard for the Fed to stimulate the economy if it's going down as it is right now. So I wouldn't hold my breath in terms of inflation. I think deflation is going to be the name of the game for a while. John?
Pat, cities across the Midwest are bracing for severe weather today. Forecasters estimate 57 million people live in areas with an enhanced risk of large hail, damaging winds, and possible tornadoes. Parts of Kansas and Oklahoma reported a handful of tornadoes Wednesday. A heavy downpour across the Midwest produced flash flooding and left drivers stranded in Indiana. A 6-inch blanket of ice pellets also covered parts of Idaho. Today's worst weather will be seen from Chicago to Detroit to southwestward near Dallas. Well, people are living longer these days, and they're staying active as they get older, too. Ephraim Graham has more in this report.
A Detroit woman is now listed as the world's oldest person at 115. Geraldine Talley credits God for her longevity. She told the Detroit Free Press, quote, "It's coming from above. It's not in my hands or your hands." A family friend says Talley's mental state is, quote, "very sharp." And legendary golfer Jack Nicklaus showed Wednesday he can still hit the mark at age 75. The 6-time Masters champion made a hole-in-one at the annual Masters Par 3 contest. He hit 2 more shots that he said also had a chance to go in. And here's a woman who demonstrates you're never too old to try something adventurous. Georgina Harwood recently celebrated her 100th birthday by skydiving in Cape Town, South Africa. The spry centenarian even operated the controls as she drifted to the ground. This wasn't her first time. She started skydiving at age 92.
Even this jump seemed to be a little bit different from the previous ones, and it was wonderful. Give me some more adjectives and I'll add them on.
As if that wasn't enough, she continued to celebrate her 100th birthday by swimming in a shark tank later in the day with her great-grandson. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Pat, we know you recently celebrated your 85th birthday here in Washington, D.C. Did you do anything adventurous as well?
I've done enough adventure. I didn't do it in the last few days, but I've done plenty before, including running a NASCAR race car around the track, 30 laps in Charlotte. I've done a few things.
No Shark Tank for you, though.
Not on your life, but I ride horses and stuff. That keeps me youthful. But I tell you, folks, the biggest segment of the population Right now, people over 80, I mean, the folks are just going older. Why? We've got tremendous medical care in this country. People used to die of cancer. Now they take care of cancer. People used to die of other diseases, you know, even infection and inflammation and things like that. I mean, they take the teeth out and they fix people and whatever you've got. I feel I've got so many spare parts you can't believe it. I mean, they kind of like an old car. You put a new transmitter on them, a transmission, you put a new distributor cap, and you just keep on going down the road. And so, but I tell you, we're going to see 80s become the new 70, and 100 is, you know, but I was reading the Bible. It said anybody who dies short of 100 will be figured to be accursed. It says in Isaiah, read it. You know.
Need to share that with Dee Dee then.
Well, Dee Dee doesn't want to do it. I say, honey, you've only got a few more years. Let's go to 100. Oh, my friends won't be around. We'll get younger friends. All right.